that are hard assets, real estate, Bitcoin. Starting to save younger is going to be more and more important because the government's going to run out of money. And it's not your fault. You can blame it on grandpa, but it's just a reality. And so you're seeing it right now. And so the people that have money are making more money because prices keep going up. They're going up because the government keeps printing more and more and more dollars. And so unfortunately for you guys, you need to vote and you need to start saving. You know, when I was your age, we didn't need to vote or save. We just trusted our elders. And you can't trust your elders. Your elders have kind of screwed you.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, so you got to explain what, for the people who don't know, what is cryptocurrency?
So cryptocurrency was an idea that came out in 2008. In 2008, we had the biggest financial crisis the world has ever seen. And this guy or woman named Satoshi Nakamoto came up with this idea to create a new version of money or a new store of value that lived outside of traditional institutions. People didn't trust JP Morgan. They didn't trust the government. It was a big FU to the system. It was, we don't trust authority. And so he came up with this idea that he'd create his own money. There'd be a limited amount of it, 21 million Bitcoins that'll ever be issued, only 21 million. And that he will have a set of rules that are really transparent. And so everything that's done is done on with a thing called a public blockchain. And so if I send you a Bitcoin, the whole world sees it. Now they don't know it's Mike Novogratz and Yachty. They just know it's my address and your address. But that transaction is put out there and it never changes. And so it brings more fairness and more transparency. And that idea was kind of a crazy idea. And it was only like cypherpunks and people that wanted to live off the grid and, you know, young kids. And all of a sudden in 12 years, it's grown into this amazing, you know, $700 billion enterprise where big institutions and rich guys and poor guys and everyone's now participating. And so it's become a thing. Bitcoin's become gold.
And it's only going to get bigger, huh?
I think so. I think it's going to get bigger because it's like a network effect. You know, like this is, you've got a community of people that are learning about it. In each new community of people that learn about it, one guy really learns about it, right? There's a guy I just did, a guy named Bitcoin Zay. I hope he's on. Right? He wrote a book, Bitcoin for Black America. He started doing this 10 years ago, so he's building his community. There are people in Indonesia building their community. There are people in China building their community. All of a sudden, all the billionaires are starting to buy it. They're building their community. And so it's almost like there's these, in most companies, the CEO is the salesman, right? You're chairman of Ford Motor, you're selling Ford Motor, but you got one guy. In Bitcoin, you've got hundreds and hundreds of salesmen convincing people why they should do it. Bitcoin's owned by over 120 million people around the world. There's never been an asset owned by as many people. And if you think about it, every village, there's a Bitcoin Zay, there's a Mike Novogratz, there's a proselytizer, there's a preacher telling the story. And so it's just going viral. Pretty cool.
And it doesn't, and it's just like the American dollar. There's no age on anyone can own Bitcoin.
No limit, anybody can own it. What's neat about it is currencies in general are political, right? They're political because the people in charge get to print the currencies. The people in charge want to make people like them. They're like, how am I gonna make people like them? Let me give them more money. Let me give them more money. Let me build a bridge. Let me, and so political currencies often end poorly. Most currencies never last more than 100 years because governments fuck it up. What's cool about Bitcoin is it's not a it's not a nation. Bitcoin itself is sovereign, and so no one gets to control it, and so no one can really screw it up. And so in 10 years there'll still be 21 million Bitcoin. In 100 years there'll still be 21 million Bitcoin. You can't print any more of them, and so as more and more people want to buy them, the price goes up.
So if someone wanted to get one, how would they inquire? That, you know, they want to invest in stock, they, you know, they have an idea of it, or if you could give someone 5 things, you know, say someone had $5,000, $10,000, you can give them 5 things to invest in. What would you tell them? What would you give them? Where would you tell them to put that money?
So first thing I'd tell them is do a little homework, right? It's not easy to make money. And so the best homework is find the person in your community that knows the most,
Right.
gravitate to the person that's done the best. Usually the person
But what if they
real,
don't have that? You know, you gotta think. You know, because you know where I'm from, in the neighborhoods I'm from, we don't. We don't have that person. You know, we don't
yeah,
have that one person with that knowledge or any of that. You know, we just, you know, thank God. You know, nowadays we have this phone. Like, you know, we have a kid who can be in the projects who can watch this live. So if they were listening right now and they just wanted to know where to invest their money, like if they had $5,000 or $1,000 anywhere, what would you tell them the best thing to put their
I'd
bucks
put
in?
I'd put 25% just in Bitcoin. I'd buy Bitcoin. I'd forget about it. Uh, I'd put 5 or 10% in a thing called Ethereum. It's another cryptocurrency. And then I'd put the rest in the stock market. And I know the stock market has gone up a lot, but I think it's going to continue to go up a lot. And so in the stock market, you can buy what's called the S&P future. Just that's the whole stock market combined. Or you can buy a couple stocks. I'd be careful of the stocks that everyone else is buying right now, because what everyone wants to buy, you got to be a little bit careful. And so I'd probably put 25% in Bitcoin, 10% in 5 to 10% in Ethereum, and then the rest in the S&P. And it's called the S&P index, or just stocks.
Okay.
Because when
Okay.
you're coming, you're willing to take more risk, right?
Right.
Buying
Risk
bonds,
not risk are good though, right?
risks are good. And there's times in the world when you're supposed to have a lot of risk on. This is one of those times, because the government is making it easy for risk to go higher. The government is printing so much money. Like every time you read about, we're going to give everybody $2,000, we're going to give everyone $600, that just makes the prices of stocks and bonds and crypto go higher.
Right. Because it's making the USD weaker.
Yes.
Right.
USD is going to continue to get weaker. Listen,
Continue.
we're in a scary part of the world, right? You saw it 3 weeks ago. We had a goddamn riot, right? The Capitol looked like the Congo. I'm like, what the hell? This is Washington, D.C., and it started looking like, we had a riot going on, an insurrection.
Right.
That's happening because the rich versus poor is just getting stretched so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're on the crazy left or the crazy right, there's this instability in our country because the inequality gap is so big, and it's getting harder to figure out how we're going to get out of it. And so it's a very scary time in terms of both investing, but also in social stability, right? And you can see it, you can feel it. And we saw it on TV. We were like, what the hell just went on?
Right. Yeah. I agree. I agree 100%. I'm trying to think if there's anything that, because I remember, it's so much more that you can. It's what are. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the most, because a lot of people that have no clue at all what cryptocurrency is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like
Yeah. So one
see
thing
it.
to do is, there's unbelievable amounts of information on the internet, on Twitter. And so you can't trade or you can't participate in crypto without being on Twitter. You got to get on Twitter, and you got to start following. You can follow me on @Novogratz. There's a guy named Anthony Pompolino, and there's Raoul Paul. There are tons of people, Vitalik Buterin, Joe Lubin, tons of people that write about crypto, that make it simpler, that take something complicated and simplify it. You can go, on Google and search it, and there are videos after videos. And so, you can't think you can just deposit a quarter in the machine and come back in a few days and it's worth $4. It doesn't work that way. So you got to
It's
do a little homework. But the homework is there. It's available for everyone. It starts on Twitter, but it's on the internet. And so you got to, Google crypto and start reading about it. And it's pretty
and do your
interesting.
homework.
Yeah, you got to do your homework. There's no
Gotta
free
do your homework. Right. Okay. Well, I just want to tell, cause like as we were just speaking on, I want to tell people about. You were talking about how important hard assets are. Like art and property and gold and opposed to uh,
Yeah, really.
dollars because of.
Yeah. So right now, the best thing you can do as a young person is save enough money, make enough money, scramble together enough money that you can then buy a piece of real estate. Because the cruel thing about real estate is it's the one area where banks will lend you a ton of money. If you're under a couple $100,000, you get an FHA loan. So the government will lend you money to buy a house. Right? Real estate's a hard asset. And you want to borrow a ton of money now if you can, because rates are so low and the government's giving it away. Now, you don't want to borrow money for 3 weeks from some guy on the street at 12%. You want to borrow money for 10 years or 20 years from the government or from the FHA. And you want to take that money and you want to put it into real estate.
Exactly.
Put some of it into Bitcoin. But that's, if I was young, the first thing I'd think about is, how do I borrow money from the government cheap, an FHA loan, and put it into real estate? Because then you got a hard asset. So then if inflation really does show up, my asset's going to keep up with the inflation rate. And that could be real estate. It could also be Bitcoin. Bitcoin's easier. The risk with Bitcoin is, oh, it gets so tempting. You buy it at 20,000, it goes to 30,000. You're like, I got to sell it. I got to sell it. Right? When you buy a house, you're not going to sell it because you're living in it. And
Right.
so if we really have this hyperinflation, which I think we're going to have, real estate's probably an easier way, even than Bitcoin. Now, the problem is real estate, you got to start with, the average house is a couple $100,000. So you got to have saved at least $10,000, maybe $20,000 to be able to get the mortgage, right? I think FHA.
You covering the mic. You covering the microphone.
Well, that's Mel. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And so it all depends on where you're starting from. But that's the other way I think about it, is if I'm just getting started, you want to buy some property.
Definitely. You know, that's important. It took me a minute to learn how much more important it is to own the property over leasing the property, because I didn't know. I didn't have anybody teach me, you know. So for a few years I was leasing, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on properties that I wasn't owning, you know.
Yeah, when you're renting, you're just giving someone else your money.
You're literally just giving it away. When I can be buying.
That also takes
and
someone to
looking out.
teach you. Like, you're not supposed to be 22 years old and know how to mortgage a house. And so, again, trying to get knowledge to the people that need it. It's on the internet. There are other people, but you gotta, that's the challenge. It's kind of why I'm trying to do some of these Instagram lives. But we need a much bigger structural education shift in economic education and financial education of people. It should get taught in school, in high school. Certainly, you should get not just how to balance a checkbook, but how to think about making savings, because people work their ass off, and a lot of people blow it on consumption. Listen, consumption is fun, but we were talking earlier, a little less jewelry, a little more investment, and in 10 years you're really doing well.
Right.
But it's hard. I'm not, the hardest part is getting
easy.
that first nest egg.
You said what?
The hardest part is that first grub. They call it a grub stake or a nest egg. That first $5,000 is the hardest $5,000 you'll ever save. The first $50,000 is the hardest $50,000. Once you have money, it gets easier to make money. But it's that beginning stake that's so brutally hard. And so that's when you're young, you really got to figure out, how to be savvy, how to be commercial, how to be lucky.
And it's tempting. I mean, especially if you come from nothing, like me. Like, if you come from nothing and you get some money, it's tempting to put your money in something that you don't visually see, opposed to materialistic things that are something you can touch. Like, you put your money in stock and you don't get anything right there in that moment, opposed to I go to the jewelry store and I buy a watch. I see it.
No. Yeah, it feels good. It's that delayed gratification, which is so hard to do. And listen, for all of us, it's hard to do, right?
Right.
You see the strawberry, you want to eat it right away.
Exactly.
And the way you save is you got to start saving up some nesting. And it doesn't have to be when you're 22. Maybe you start when you're 25 or you're 26, or when you finally get into the groove and you're starting to make something that you can save a little bit. But you got to get the mindset.
It doesn't have to be big. You can start saving, $5, $10 out your check. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Or 5% of your weekly check or monthly check. You know, as long as you start saving something, I think that's important to put that out there. I think sometimes people think when you say saving, it has to be, oh, you got to save 10,000, 5,000. But you can take 5% because it'll add up over time.
Yeah,
You
you're
know?
right. You're 100% right. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's get the mindset. Get the mindset that you're going to better your position. And you're going to better your position by having savings and then making smart decisions with those savings. And
Right.
right now, the smart decision isn't leaving it in the bank. When I was a kid, the smart decision was put the money in the bank. And right now, that's a dumb decision. And that's
Right.
hard to understand. You're like, fuck, I just decided to save. And now you're telling me I can't put it in the bank. No, I'm telling you, if you're going to put it in the bank, put it in Bitcoin. If you're going to put it in the bank, put it in equities. If you're going to put it in the bank, put it in real estate.
Right. Well, I mean, everyone can't do real estate. You know, if you're 16 years old,
No, I agree. I agree. But everyone can do a little bit of Bitcoin.
exactly. And that's what we're talking about today. But I mean, even more than Bitcoin, you know, because Bitcoin, I think right now is at, if I'm not mistaken, like $33,000 just for one. So, what would you suggest
Well, you
other?
don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin, though. So you can buy a little bit of a Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's divided by like a million. And so
Right,
you can buy, they're called Satoshis. You can buy $100 of Bitcoin. You can buy $50 of Bitcoin. You can buy, like, there are very few people that have a whole Bitcoin. In the whole world, there are very few people. Whole Bitcoin's a lot, right? That's $38,000.
right,
To give it, put it in perspective, in America, half of America has zero savings, right? Zero. That's
wow,
50%. That's 150 million Americans have zero savings. And so it's hard to save money. I don't think it's easy. And so that's, you got to figure out what inside of you can make me in the other half.
right.
You've done it yourself, right? You got God-given talent. You made a lot of money in the music business. You're saving money. But for everybody out there, you got to figure out, how do I get myself started in that process so I'd end up in that half that has zero savings? Because
Right,
life's just as hard when you have zero savings.
right. So, what would if what are some cheaper cryptocurrencies that you would suggest for some people? And if you could give any gems on anything that is at the bottom and hadn't taken off yet. Like if you wanted anything that's like any cryptos or any stocks that's not popping yet that are extremely cheap that someone could invest in and you know that a few dollars and just sit on it, what would you say? Because
Well, so
Bitcoin is very expensive.
Bitcoin, it's probably on a risk-adjusted basis the safer, but it's moved a lot. Ethereum has moved a lot this year, but I think Ethereum, Ether, has a long way to go. So that's a good investment. And then there's this whole group called DeFi, or decentralized finance. So tokens like Aave or Link or uh, Compound, uh, YFI. It's called Yearn Financial, YFI, Uniswap. Those five, there's a chance that those five blow up the world.
Mm,
Not in the next week or the month, but in the next 5 years.
right.
Uh, those are the tokens that want to take the banks and tear the banks limb from limb, that want to replace J.P. Morgan and the New York Stock Exchange, and so I would put some money in those things. It's much riskier, but if it works, it's going to be a much bigger payoff.
I gotta ask you, have you heard of Dogecoin?
Dogecoin, yeah.
I say Doge. Have you heard of it?
my
Of course you
daughter's
have.
boy, my daughter's boyfriend, he loves Dogecoin,
What do you
and
think of it?
it's kind of a joke, but I tell you,
Yeah,
so it's a joke, and it was a meme coin. And listen, memes work. You saw the meme about Bernie Sanders going everywhere,
right.
and Doge was a meme coin that people took off and bought it as a joke, and now people trade it. I would, if you're going to do it, you do it with small amount of your money, and you buy it and you sell it, and you buy it before it goes up, and you sell it when it goes up, because there's no long-term value in Dogecoin. In the long run, it's going to be a zero, but it can
Right.
be exciting to play. My daughter's boyfriend, Zach, shout out. He made a ton of money this year on it because he bought it because he thought everyone's going to start talking about it.
Yeah.
So remember how markets work. Markets work when there's something that people get excited about. So there's energy around it. And so Elon Musk made a joke about Dogecoin, and next thing you know, it went flying high. And so you got to be real careful about coins like that. And for those people who are going to trade in those, they got to be focused on crypto. They're like crypto junkies. And I know there are a lot of people out there on the phone that are crypto junkies. And so if you're a crypto junkie, you can take more risk. If you're not a crypto junkie, you should be careful.
That's fair. I had to ask. I know it's a lot of memers
But
and
even
trollers.
Yachty coin. I try to buy Yachty coin today, but they don't sell it to Americans, So you guys were smart to register it the way you did.
We got to get you one, though. We got to get you a Yachty coin.
I got to get a Yachty coin.
For the sake of it.
No doubt. I try to buy some. I'll figure out how to buy it overseas.
So you gotta man, this is amazing, and I appreciate you for taking this time. If you could, not even related to stock or not even related to Bitcoin, what is something that you would tell the youth that just like pertaining to trying to become successful at a young age, or just trying to figure out what they want? I'm gonna ask you, at what point in your life did you decide, like, did you understand that you wanted to get into this? Because like, you don't come out the womb like, oh, I want to become rich. So like, where in your life did you like see that turning point and understand, like, I need to start doing this?
So I was a middle class kid. My parents were in the my dad was in the military, and I was a wrestler, and wrestling's a hard sport. And I went to Princeton because I was a wrestler, and I saw all these rich kids, and I was like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? Like, they shit in the same toilet, they chase the same girls, and so for me that was a big shift of mindset. Like, why are they better than me? And one thing I've learned is no one's better than the next guy. And so that gave me a little bit of fire in my belly. My advice, though, really is people need to spend some time sorting their shit out. Like, why am I scared? Why am I nervous? What am I scared of? Why do I drink too much? And that's inward looking. And so you got to spend some time with yourself. It could be meditation. It could be long walks. It could be prayer. It could be travel. But as you sort your shit out, as you figure out, who you are, it makes it easier for you to succeed. And then you start defining what success is for you. And success might be being the best teacher. Success might be making a bunch of money, might be being a record executive. And so you can't let other people define your success.
Right.
The way you define your own success is you sort your shit out. And here's the secret. The secret, all of your shit comes from your mom and dad. They tried their best to love you, but every single person on the planet gets screwed up by their mom and dad, even if their parents overloved them or didn't love them or weren't there, right? And so your journey is to kind of understand that and then just let it go. Then love them because they were your mom and dad and move on in life. That's hard to do, but that's really the best advice you could give everybody. And that's how you start figuring out what you want to be in life. I want to be a rapper. I want to be an entertainer. And again, one person's path is no better than the next. It's got to be their path.
There you have it. So I think what we'll do is,
Should we do some questions?
Yeah, so I'll jump off and I'll come over there where you are, and then you can start bringing up some more people.
Awesome.
All right, cool.
What are you pulling up? What is this? Steve Kurz. He's the guy who works for me. These are all people that work for me.